Hi, I'm Niklas Hallin, this is the Neckbot Devlog, and today is my birthday! Woohoo! So yeah, this is the end of November in Sweden, and I'm trying to find somewhere with enough light to be able to record, and this is kind of the best I have. So Owlboy came out a few weeks ago, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's hard to believe how good this game looks. But it also took 9 years to make, and I mean, how does that even work? Financially for one thing, but also psychologically, how do you make yourself stick to a project for almost a decade of your life? My point is, I really want to like Owlboy, but the awkward thing is that after all that, Owlboy isn't actually that fun to play, sadly. And I didn't really know how I was going to say that, but then I saw this Super Bunny Hop review which pretty much said what I've been thinking, and I was vindicated a bit. So personally, I'm more frustrated with the combat and the puzzles naturally, but the point remains. And that's the sad consequence of such a long development time. 9 years ago, in 2007 I guess, the idea of a 2D pixel art Metroidvania side-scroller that harkened back to the sense of childlike adventures of games from the early 90s, it was mind-blowingly radical. At that time, everyone was making first-person shooters set in World War II for some reason, and the Western indie scene was just beginning to take its current form. But now, in 2016, everyone is making charming Metroidvanias that harken back to the early 90s. Heck, that's exactly what I'm doing. That's what my game is. And there's the rub, eh? That has made me a bit introspective. Owlboy's problem is that it isn't bringing much new to the scene, and nostalgia alone isn't quite enough to cut it anymore. And that's a problem the Elephant game is going to have as well. As a worrisome thought. But I do have something that Owlboy does not have. The Elephant game does have over 100 puzzles, and maybe like 2 or 3 of them are duplicates. I genuinely do have a deep puzzle system with lots of parts that combine in a different way. Now, as you may know, I really enjoy putting a box on a switch to open a door for some reason. That's one of my favorite things to do in video games. But I do hear people dismissing block puzzles as boring and unimaginative, and Owlboy is an example how that can be the case. This, by the way, is when I segue into talking about game design tips and tricks, which is what justifies this whole rant. I'm not here to review Owlboy or give it a review score or anything. That's not what I do. This isn't really even about Owlboy. What I want to talk about is game design in a larger context. I want to talk about how we find ourselves in a situation where Yahtzee will say something like this.
Hope you like weighing down switches with boxes and redirecting laser beams and everything else from the Insert Puzzle Here guide to video game design.
And then Super Bunny Hop can say something like this.
A character that spins around and faints when he dies, and block puzzles. Lots and lots of block puzzles.
I think a lot of games that have block puzzles approach them in a fundamentally wrong way. What they do, and Portal kinda does this as well. I was replaying it last summer and I got like halfway and I was struck by the fact that it wasn't as much of a work of genius as we often think. But anyway, what they do is they give you a room with a box and a switch and a door, and you put the box on the switch and then you go to the next room. And it too has a door and a switch in the box, only now the box is further away and there are some obstacles in between. And then it keeps going like that, putting the box further and further away in each room so that the puzzles technically become more difficult to solve, but the actual solutions remain exactly the same. You put the box on the switch. I'll show you what I mean. In Owlboy, you have this absolutely amazing puzzle element, which is a rain cloud that you can grab hold of and take with you, which is adorable. You can even squeeze it to produce rain. It's great. But then they essentially have this rain door, which opens if you rain on it, and a whole bunch of puzzles where you take the cloud to the rain door and squeeze it open, and the cloud is further and further away for each puzzle. That's not how I would have done it. Not at all. I would have given you a cloud and a rain door to introduce the concept, but then I would have used that puzzle once. In the next room, you would have used a cloud to put out a fire or something, and after that a rain door with no cloud, so you would have to find some other source of water, and after that maybe 2 clouds that you can rub together to generate static electricity, and thunderstrike that recharges a battery to activate an elevator. You see what I mean? That's how you have to handle block puzzles. There are times in the elephant game when you put a box on a switch and open a door. But out of 100 puzzles, there's like less than 10 of them when that's the final solution. You also fill boxes with water, or blow them up with dynamite, or melt them to get the item inside, or slot them into holes in the floor, and so on and so on and so on. Now I want to finish this little diatribe by saying that you should totally play Owlboy. Go and buy it right now. It's not that expensive and it's totally worth it. It's beautiful, the story is well told, it's hilarious. Everything about the game is great, except the combat is annoyingly difficult and the puzzles are annoyingly easy. Indeed, the game's greatest flaw is that it took too long to make. And I have sincere respect and sympathy for the devs who stuck with it for all this time. And now that I've been antagonizing fellow game developers for several minutes, which I'm kind of uncomfortable doing, it's time to do what I'm really here to do, which is to introduce this month's Morticia report. So the awkward thing about doing a Morticia report this month is that what I've been working on is the final boss and the climatic and epic conclusion to the story, and I'm not gonna show you that. I'm not gonna put footage of that online. I will say though that the final boss has taken quite a bit of time to make because it has 3 stages, right? So when you defeat it the first time, it goes into its next form, and then you have to defeat it again in the third one. And that, none of the other bosses have that, and it was quite a lot of work, it turns out, to actually make that happen. I can, however, show you this other cute little feature that I added a few weeks ago, which is... So, there's a problem with this game, which is that the text in the dialogue is pretty small on the screen, and the health bar is pretty small on the screen as well. And like, I have a way of doing pretty small and minimalistic interface because it just looks stylish, it looks a lot better. But the readability goes down a bit. So I added this thing where you can actually, in the options menu, adjust the scale of the heads-up display however you want. You can make it 200% the original size, which looks really bad. I mean, this looks ugly, but it works. And if you for instance play on a TV and you're in a sofa on the other side of the room, then you have the option to do this if you want to read the text properly. And I know people are gonna tell me that you have to make big interface icons, they have to be readable, that's the only thing that matters. But it's like, it looks like one of those picture books you give to little children, which is like 1 sentence per page, huge letters, and like a cute picture of a dog. That's what this looks like, and it doesn't look classy, it doesn't look stylish, it doesn't look good, and that matters to me. Looking stylish matters to me. But anyway, that's all for today's episode. See you in December. I don't really know exactly what date I'm gonna make the next video, but somewhere in the middle of December, I think. Maybe I have something to show, but it's not that much big interesting things left to add in the game at this point. As always, you have the option to hit subscribe here on YouTube. Thank you, and I will see you next time.